For the last 30 years, the financial industry has been giving you the same number. Save 15% of your income, put it in your 401k, stay consistent, and everything will work out. Fidelity says 15%. Vanguard says 15%. Every personal finance influencer, every HR onboarding packet, every retirement calculator default setting says 15%. It is the most repeated number in personal finance. And it has been repeated so many times by so many sources that most people have stopped questioning whether it is actually true. It isn't. Not for most people. Not under the conditions most people actually live. And the reason nobody in the financial industry is rushing to correct this is because the 15% rule isn't really designed to get you to retirement. It's designed to get you to participate. And those are two very different things. So today, we are going to do what nobody in the industry wants to do. We are going to open up the 15% rule, look at every assumption hiding inside it, run the actual math under real-world conditions, and show you exactly why the most trusted number in personal finance is quietly failing the people who follow it most faithfully. Because here is what nobody tells you at the start. There is a version of this where you do everything right. You hit 15% every year. You never miss a contribution. You stay the course through every market downturn, and you still arrive at 65 with a number that does not cover what you need. Not because you failed, but because the rule was built on assumptions that were never disclosed to you and that almost nobody actually lives. That is what we are going to prove today.
To understand why 15% falls apart, you first have to understand where it came from. Because this number did not emerge from a rigorous study of what working Americans actually need to retire comfortably. It emerged from the financial services industry's need to give people a simple, memorable, actionable target that would encourage participation in retirement savings products. And to be fair, that is not entirely cynical. Getting people to save anything is better than getting them to save nothing. The 15% rule did move the needle on participation rates. But somewhere between being a participation target and being a retirement guarantee, the number lost something critical. It lost its asterisk. Because the 15% rule only works under a very specific set of conditions. You need to start saving at 25, you need to earn consistent market returns of around 7% annually in real terms. You need no career gaps, no periods of unemployment, no years where you dropped your contribution rate because rent went up, or your car broke down, or you had a medical bill that ate 3 months of savings. You need to retire at 65 on schedule, and you need to live in a world where fees, inflation, and taxes don't take the bite out of your returns that they always do in practice.
Under those conditions, 15% works. Under those conditions, you hit your number. But here is the problem. Those conditions describe almost nobody. The median age at which Americans actually start consistently contributing to a retirement account is closer to 31, not 25. That 6-year gap is not a minor rounding error. At a 7% average annual return, money doubles roughly every 10 years. Starting at 31 instead of 25 means the money you would have contributed in your late 20s never exists. That compounding never happens. And no savings rate at 45 can buy back the compounding that did not happen at 28. This is the first assumption, and most people violate it before they ever open a brokerage account. Now let's talk about the returns assumption, because 7% is the number almost every retirement projection uses, and on the surface, it is defensible. The historical average annual return of the S&P 500 going back to 1957 is roughly 10.5% nominally. After adjusting for inflation, that comes down to around 7%. So the math checks out in the long run. Except that number does not account for fees, and fees are where retirement projections quietly fall apart. The average expense ratio across all mutual funds held in 401k plans in the United States is around 0.5% annually. That sounds like nothing, half of 1%. But over a 40-year career, a 0.5% annual fee does not cost you 0.5% of your final balance. It costs you significantly more because it compounds against you the entire time. Vanguard has done the math on this. A 1% annual fee over a 40-year investment horizon reduces your final portfolio value by approximately 17%. Not 1%, not 4%, 17%. Gone. Not taken in a single dramatic moment, but quietly extracted year by year while you were focused on your contribution rate and telling yourself you were on track. And 0.5% is the average. Plenty of 401k plans, particularly those offered by smaller employers, carry expense ratios of 1% or higher. Some actively managed funds inside these plans run at 1.5% or above, which means in a significant number of American retirement accounts, the fee drag alone is silently erasing the equivalent of years of contributions, with no notification, no annual statement line that says, here is what fees cost you this year. Just a balance that is slightly lower than the math suggested it should be. Then there is inflation. Real inflation. Not the official CPI number, but the inflation that touches the specific things retirees actually spend money on. Healthcare, housing, prescription drugs. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks healthcare inflation separately from general CPI, and it has consistently run at roughly 1.5 to 2 times the general inflation rate for the last 2 decades. And healthcare is not a discretionary expense in retirement. It is the expense. According to Fidelity's own research, the average couple retiring today will need approximately $315,000 in today's dollars just to cover healthcare costs in retirement. That number is not included in most retirement projections. It is not the thing the 15% rule was designed around. It is an add-on that appears after the rule has already told you that you are on track. Let's put some real numbers on this, because this is where the gap between the rule and reality becomes impossible to ignore. The median household income in the United States right now is approximately $74,000 per year. 15% of that is $11,100 annually. Over a 40-year career, starting at 25 and ending at 65, with a 7% average annual return, that produces a retirement portfolio of approximately $2.9 million, which sounds like more than enough. But now, run the same math under realistic conditions. Start at 31 instead of 25. Apply a 0.75% annual fee drag. Adjust the real return down to 5.5% after fees and realistic inflation drag, and account for 2 career gaps, totaling 5 years, which is actually below the average for American workers when you factor in unemployment, caregiving, and health-related work interruptions. Under those conditions, the same 15% savings rate on the same median income produces a retirement portfolio of approximately $1.1 million at 65. That is not a rounding difference. That is a $1.8 million gap produced entirely by the assumptions nobody disclosed when they handed you the 15% rule. And $1.1 million sounds like a lot until you apply the 4% withdrawal rule, which itself has come under serious scrutiny from financial researchers in recent years. At 4% annual withdrawals, $1.1 million produces $44,000 per year in retirement income, before taxes, in a world where healthcare alone could cost you $15,000 to $20,000 annually, and where Social Security, if it remains solvent at current benefit levels, adds a median benefit of around $22,000 per year? So you followed the rule. You saved 15% for your entire career. You never missed a contribution, and you retired on roughly $66,000 a year, combined from your portfolio and Social Security, in a country where the average cost of assisted living alone runs over $54,000 annually, where a single hospital stay without supplemental insurance can run tens of thousands of dollars, where the retirement you pictured and the retirement you can actually afford are 2 different things. This is not a worst-case scenario. This is the median scenario. This is what following the rule looks like for the average American worker under average real-world conditions. But there is one more variable that almost nobody talks about until it is too late. It is the one that can undo decades of disciplined saving in the final years before retirement. It is called sequence of returns risk, And it is the part of retirement planning that the 15% rule treats as if it simply does not exist. Here is how it works. Two people save identically for 40 years. Same income, same savings rate, same average annual return over the full period. But the order in which those returns arrive is different. Person A gets their best returns early and their worst returns in the final 5 years before retirement. Person B gets their worst returns early and their best returns late. At the moment of retirement, these two people can have dramatically different portfolio balances, despite identical lifetime average returns, because the losses in the years immediately before retirement hit the largest balance. And large losses on a large balance at the wrong moment in time cannot be recovered the same way a 30-year-old recovers from a market downturn. A 30-year-old who loses 30% still has 35 years of compounding ahead of them. A 63-year-old who loses 30% has 2 years until retirement and no way to claw it back.
Person A, the one who got bad returns late, might retire with 30 to 40% less than person B, even though their lifetime average return was identical. This is not a theoretical risk. The S&P 500 lost approximately 50% of its value between 2007 and 2009. Anyone who retired in 2008 or 2009 did not get the 40-year average return smoothed out over time. They got the 40-year average with a 50% crater stapled to the end of it. And the 15% rule never mentioned this. The retirement calculators that told you that you were on track did not flag it. It was simply a variable that existed outside the assumptions baked into the number you were given.
So what is the actual number? What should you be saving? The honest answer is that it depends on variables the financial industry does not want to build into a simple rule, because simple rules drive participation and complicated truths drive hesitation. But the research that does exist tells a consistent story. A 2024 analysis from the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that workers who started saving after age 30 need to save between 20 and 25% of their income to reach the same retirement outcome that 15% would produce for someone who started at 25, under ideal conditions. Which means that figure still does not account for above-average healthcare costs, long-term care needs, or the possibility that Social Security benefits are reduced in the coming decades due to the program's own well-documented funding shortfall. If you factor in long-term care, which Morningstar estimates will be needed by roughly 70% of people over 65 at an average cost of over $100,000, the number climbs further still. The real savings rate for most Americans who want genuine retirement security, not just retirement participation, is probably somewhere between 20 and 30%, depending on when they started, where they live, and what their healthcare picture looks like. 20 to 30%, not 15, which is not what the brochure said, which is not what the calculator defaulted to, which is not the number 40 years of financial industry marketing has been handing to every new employee on their first day as though it is a complete and honest answer to the most important financial question of their working life. The 15% rule is not a lie in the way a deliberate deception is a lie. It is something more insidious than that. It is a number that was accurate under conditions that were never disclosed, repeated so many times by so many trusted sources that it became treated as a universal truth. And while the financial industry was busy repeating it, the conditions it was built on quietly shifted. Fees got embedded deeper into products. Inflation accelerated in the specific categories that matter most in retirement. Career paths got less linear. And the pension system that used to sit underneath all of this as a genuine safety net was quietly dismantled and replaced with the 401k and the advice to save 15%. What was left was the number, sitting on top of a retirement landscape that looks nothing like the one it was designed for, still being repeated, still being defaulted to, still being handed to new employees on their first day as though it is a complete answer to a question that is far more complicated and far more urgent than that. This is what traditional financial media will not tell you. Not because the journalists don't know, but because the institutions writing the checks are the same ones selling you the products that the 15% rule was designed to fill with your money. So if you want to understand what is actually happening to your retirement, not just the version that was optimized for someone else's participation rates, hit subscribe. Because the gap between what you were told and what is actually true is exactly the gap this channel exists to close.